I'm letting my employees pick their goals, the ratios of what they want to be measured by, not me saying, here's how we're going to measure you. And I like to call it, and it's from my consultants from years ago, is being handcuffed. I don't want to handcuff you to these. You get to create your own.
You work hard in your business. On the Profit by Design podcast, we ask the big question: what has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of How to Hire the Best, and your co-host on the Profit by Design podcast. Weekly, my co-host, Mike Bruno, and I bring you tips, tools, and strategies from our own experiences and from the experiences of our guests, who are entrepreneurial thought leaders and real-life entrepreneurs, all to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable business decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. Profit designers, are you ready to take your life back from your business? If so, I invite you to join us in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community that we've started at Tap the Potential. Chances are, if you have a growing business, you're paying a team, and you still feel like you're having to do it all. It shouldn't be this way. Work should support life, not the other way around. And at Tap the Potential, we support entrepreneurs like you in designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. In our Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook group, I'm sharing with you lots of tips, tools, and strategies to support you in a business that gives you your life back. When you join our community, you will get access to exclusive mini trainings from me, including the Better Business, Better Life Jumpstart, as well as the How to Hire the Best Jumpstart. These free trainings are available only to the members of the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community. There's no charge to join. I would love to see you there and get to know more about you. To join us, go to tapthepotential.com/group. That's tapthepotential.com/group. Profit designers, we know that different is better when it comes to marketing and standing out with our businesses, especially in competitive industries where our clients and customers are comparing on price. In today's episode, we have our guest, Rob Minnick, who helps us dig into the question of, is different really better? And if we're different and we can't help our clients and customers appreciate the value of our difference, what do we do? This is a fun episode. Mike and I really dig in with Rob and look at some creative solutions to the challenge that he's bringing forth. Rob is a client in Tap the Potential's Better Business, Better Life program. He's been working with us since April, and he's made some significant changes. And he's also being a disruptor, not just within his industry, but also in how he's managing and leading his team. And he'll be sharing that within our episode today as well. Larry Rob Minnick Jr. prefers to go by Rob, and he's the CEO or president of Minnick's Inc. and Minnick Training Center. He has 39 years experience in the heating and air conditioning field, in particular with mechanical design and building performance for owners. The reason Rob decided to concentrate on the family business was that he loves what he does, and it allows him to meet people, and he enjoys a challenge. Rob earned his certifications from the state of Maryland, Air Conditioning Contractors of America, Building Performance Institute, Residential Energy Service Network, United States Green Building Council, and National Comfort Institute. In addition to his heating and air conditioning work, Rob is active in many associations, some of which include the ACCA National Products and QA Committee Chair, ACCA BPI QEE Standard Development Committee, and the Building Performance Institute National Board of Directors, where he serves as Vice Chair. Rob lives in Burtonsville, Maryland with his wife, Dawn. They have 3 children, 1 granddaughter, and 1 dog. When he's not working, he likes to spend time with his family, play drums, travel, and play golf. We'll be diving into the conversation with Rob right after this. Profit designers, at Tap the Potential, we are on a mission right now to be a positive force in social media during trying times for all of us entrepreneurs. In that regard, I would love it if you could help us out. We really want to get behind any of you who are doing good things in your communities, showing up and leading with love. If you are doing something to keep your team together during this time and you're sharing it in social media, or you come across another entrepreneur who is being a gift from their gift in some way that you notice, please use the hashtags Lead with Love and Be a Gift. Our team at Tap the Potential is on the lookout in social media for those hashtags, and we will be reposting those social media posts from the Tap the Potential social media. Let's all lead with love, be a gift, and shine bright during these trying times. Well, Rob, welcome to the Profit by Design podcast.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Mike and I are really honored. You have been listening to the podcast for quite some time. And so you are in Tap the Potential's Better Business, Better Life program. And we've had the privilege of working with you since April of 2020. I mean, you came in right at the height of COVID, for goodness sake. So I want to acknowledge you for your mindset and just saying, hey, you know, COVID's happening and I'm still going to work on my business and make it better. And you have certainly shown up in that way. And that is a very cool to see that.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it.
So when you came to us at Tap the Potential, you filled out our assessment for entrepreneurial burnout, where we're looking at what your quality of life is in relation to the business. And your business it's a family business. It's third generation in the business. You've been in it most of your life off and on. You said that you were working about 100 hours a week.
Yes. And again, the questions that you asked are fantastic because I never thought about that the hours working of listening should count as well, or not listening, I'm sorry, thinking of the business. And if I'm constantly thinking of it, then those count as time in the business, which I agree, though never thought about it. And so I'm constantly thinking about it, and I'm probably underestimating it 100 hours.
Yeah. So what was going on that got your attention that you wanted to do something different? Why did you reach out to us?
Well, for years, I'm constantly asking the three questions. We had consultants come in and help us really turn our business around. When I started, my brothers and I started, learning the business part of it because we were going to buy it out from our father. And I was the one selected to be the CEO president. And so then I started looking at having consultants come in. And when the consultants came in, they say you always got to be asking the three questions, whether it's asking yourself or in a meeting or any time. And that's first question is, what's going right? Second question, what's going wrong? And third, how do we make it better? So I'm constantly thinking that third question, how do we make it better? How do we make it better? And just listening to your podcast and reading through your books and Profit First and Pumpkin Plan and all of that, it's like, this is where I feel we need to go. And what can I do to get involved and start doing this?
So it's the how can I make it better question that you were asked. So when you started with us, what was working and what wasn't working? And what did you decide you wanted to make better?
I would say the number one, and I'm sure this is for most businesses, are employees, and making sure that we have the right people in the right seat and if they even belong on the bus. And so that's, key number one, because we can, sell jobs and, find some work and do accounting and all of that. Though again, it's still, if we don't have the right team, then we're going to fail.
So some of the struggles that you were experiencing with the employees at that time, or, for a period of time that led you to, start working with Tap the Potential. Can you explain some of the little bit more details on what were the struggles? Was it all production related? Was it attitude? Was it client experience? All of the above?
All of the above. And that's, what drove me crazy, because it wasn't just one thing I needed to look at. It was trying to figure out all those things and how do I fix this? And what I just come to realize that it's just not the right person. If this person's complaining about this X and the next person's complaining about Y. It's all about creating a great vision of the company and making sure that people even want to be a part of that ride. We're getting here and we're flying here. Do you want to go with us or not? And then show me that you do.
So I remember that was one of the early things that you dug in around with us is creating your compelling, vivid vision and your immutable laws. So I would love to hear pieces of those if you'd be willing to share and how you've used that with your team.
Oh, sure. It's been the biggest thing that I've created. I had a vision, though it wasn't close to what it is now because it's a page and a half now. Before it might have been a half a page.
So you really fleshed it out and you went deeper.
Yes, went deeper and then, creating the vision. And of course, because of being in the middle of COVID, it's kind of like, okay, what is next year even going to look like? How do, visions are usually created for like 5, 10, 15 years. How can I think that far out? So I went ahead and created it for 2 years out. So I created a vision for December 2022.
Nice. I want to acknowledge that there's no right or wrong length of time to create a vision. There's some people say, well, should it be 3 years out? Should it be 1 year out? Should it be 15 years out or 5 years? It really is about, what's the furthest point you can see at this time and trying to stretch yourself a little bit further beyond that. And I think in the height of COVID, creating a vision 2 years out is perfect because you're saying, I know things are going to be different. It's how it is right now is not how it's going to stay.
Exactly right.
We talked a couple of times about, just the fact that everything's always evolving and changing, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs think, all right, I need to do this daunting task and come up with a vision. So now here's my vision. I put it out there and I just set it and forget it. And that's not the case. So it is good to have, a vision with as far out as you could, get to. And then it's just an evolution, right? You're constantly looking at that vision, massaging it, seeing what works, what doesn't work. Your 3-point mantra there is pretty much key with that as well.
Exactly right. And when I started interviewing people and going through the vision with them, they would just light up. It was unbelievable, the difference. Just reading them the vision and finally see people light up and being, I want to get on that plane. What do I got to do?
And that's the biggest piece when you're hiring is you want to be paying attention to that body language because the right people will resonate and you'll see it that you said they light up. And that attracts the right people for you to bring this vision into reality.
Exactly right. And body language is really all you can really tell because it's hard to see their face expressions when they got a mask on.
That is so true. I should do a whole training on how you interview when you can't see facial expressions with a mask. So, Rob, what are the parts of the vision that get you the most excited?
Oh, that's a tough question because every part of it is, I love it. I love every part of it. And I guess it would go to where I explain of, why we're doing this vision and what I want to do as well as have my team do. And of course, one of them is the 4-week vacation.
Wow. So, and why is that important to you?
Well, my employees taking a 4-week vacation and telling them about this in the vision before they're even hired, and they've never heard of that. And for me to take a 4-week vacation without thinking about work will be a struggle at first. I have to admit it, though I'm very excited to do that. When I get that planned out, I know I need to do it in stepping stones, but I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's going to be here before I know it.
When you share it with employees or prospective employees, what's some of the feedback that you're hearing? I know they've never heard of it before. What are they saying to you in relation to it?
When they hear it, they say, you really care about your employees. I can hear it in your vision that everything is about us, not about you.
Yeah, especially in this industry, I think that's the really key factor for the A-player employees because, so many of these guys have worked for many companies before that they just don't care, right? There's an unclear vision. They show up, they just go work, do what you have to do, come back next day. It's very compartmentalized, but to have the ability to work for a company that has a clear vision. There's respect and, all these different components built into it. And then an opportunity to actually even take a vacation. A lot of these guys probably work for companies that don't even offer one day. They call out sick and they just don't get paid.
Right.
So that's really awesome.
Yeah. The second part is the training. Our goal is each member of our team has to go through 150 hours of training for the year, and we pay for that.
Wow. That's a big deal.
My goal is 300. So I start at 150 and then I'll go from there.
Yeah. And A players want to learn and grow. So a company that puts that much emphasis on training and will pay for it really says you're trying to create a great place to work for your team members. That's exciting.
Very exciting.
Really cool.
And what are some of your immutable laws? I can kind of guess that learning and growth is one of them. What are some of the others that you're using and finding a lot of success with in attracting the right team members?
So number one is customer service is everyone's business. Every team member shapes the customer journey, either directly or indirectly. And this is number two is another one that is built from when you mentioned putting together immutable laws. What really gets you angry? Because this second one is what really got me really angry. Excuses build monuments of nothing.
Oh, that is a very popular immutable law among our business owners that tap the potential.
I can understand why.
Yes. And that's an example that we share in the How to Hire the Best book that a business owner years ago, it was his mantra. And I think we are all so burnt from excuses from team members over the years that it just says everything. That's a mic drop moment right there.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
So when you shared that with your existing team members, what reaction did you get?
They don't make excuses anymore, which is fantastic. It's actually working. I think they were caught off guard. I wasn't able to see the facial expression, but I could feel it.
Uh-huh. Yeah. So let me talk a little bit about that, because when you create your immutable laws, the questions that Rob is referring to, there's two key questions. One is, what's made you proud lately? Because the things that make us proud point to our core values, and our core values are the foundation of our immutable laws. And then the accompanying question is, what's ticked you off lately? And so clearly what's ticked Rob off lately and for a long time are excuses. And so when we solidify our immutable laws and take them back to our team, one of the things that tends to happen is those immutable laws will resonate with some team members. Other team members will finally have clarity as to why they're not a good fit, and they will leave very shortly thereafter. But then there's the middle ground. There's that opportunity to pay attention to how your different team members respond as you're reading the immutable laws. Some people will all of a sudden see themselves in behavior that they didn't realize wasn't acceptable. And so as soon as you put that immutable law out there, excuses build monuments of nothing, you're saying, this is not an acceptable behavior here. We won't tolerate this. And that immediately sets a standard for the culture going forward. So you said people don't make excuses anymore. What are they doing differently? What do you notice?
Well, they're always going to try to figure out a different way. It's like, I just wish they spent that energy doing something more positive. Though it's really diminishing, and, everyone is really starting to step up. And I feel like now putting in the game at work, they're really excited, and that's really going to help them step it up as well. Because as you says, with the game of work, now we got the whole field and the boundaries are there. So we have the termination boundaries, and then we have the operation boundaries. And the operation boundaries is our immutable laws.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, The Game of Work is by Charles Coonrat. It's been a book that's been out there for years, and it really points to the question of why is it that we get so excited to play games and we'll spend a lot of money and time playing games as adults? And he gives the example of men going duck hunting. Why do they, get up at 3 a.m. and put on waders and all kinds of, gear to stay warm and then go out into the cold marsh with, very expensive guns and ammo. And yet they'll stroll into work on Monday morning and they'll be late and they're tired and, they can't get themselves going. And so he just points out that as humans, we're wired to play games. And so he says, why not make work a game and let's create rules and let's create a field of play and let's know what are terminal out of bounds, like what you're going to do that's going to get you fired. Our immutable laws become those terminal out of bounds. And then there's operational out of bounds where we're defining how things are done and what's expected. And if you go out of bounds there's going to be a correction and an opportunity to improve, but you won't necessarily be fired. And then we need to teach our team how to win. And that sounds so simple and it's so obvious. And yet this is where we fall down all the time as business owners, is we don't define what winning looks like. And so, Rob, I think there's two ways that you're doing this. One is defining the sweet spot of the business. And we're going to spend some time on that in just a minute because you've done significant work there. So operating from the sweet spot is part of winning. But the other piece is for each role, you're defining what winning looks like. So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Well, that's where we're in the middle because we just started it. And winning is them creating their results to resources ratio, like percentage to income, percentage of pay to income ratio, or, percentage to revenue per employee. So there's just all those different metrics. And so each team member gets to create their own metric of what they feel is what they want to be measured by. And then we create the award for that. And then there's also the employee's going to say, okay, well, what's the performance standard? What's the bottom line? Where's the ball at on the field? So we got to cross that line. And what is that standard? And then once they cross the line and they're moving the ball down the field, then that's them hitting their ratios and they're getting reward for that. And so they really like that. And what I really like about it is that I'm letting my employees pick their goals, their ratios of what they want to be measured by, not me saying, here's how we're going to measure you. And I like to call it, and it's from my consultants from years ago, is being handcuffed. I don't want to handcuff you to these. You get to create your own.
Yeah. And at the same time, I know that you're in the background providing guidance. You're not going to let them pick something that is totally irrelevant to what they're doing and what you need them to be doing.
Yeah, that was the next thing I was getting ready to mention, is that they'll come back with that. Though, again, we get a week to be able to take it back and be able to see, can that work within the company's budget, and as well, can it be measured? And can I create a report so that it lets them know where this came from, and we also know where it came from. It's not just me throwing some numbers up there and they have no idea if they're winning or losing, but because the report's there. And plus they're keeping the score and they're able to get that report to be able to put it on there.
So psychologically, there's a lot packed into what you just said that works. Number one, team members are actively involved in setting their own goals. There, you're looking at how to measure, because we get what we measure. And if we're not measuring things, we're not going to get performance. And the team members are going to know what they're being measured on. And then there's a benchmark that's being established, like here's your current level of performance. And so team members are not competing against each other. They're competing against themselves to better their best towards a team goal of profitability. And so as you're looking at these different results to resource ratios that your team members will be coming up with, you're going to be paying attention to, does this tie into our profitability? Because that's what you're working on, is profit first and getting the company to those target allocation percentages. So when we get immediate feedback, and that's the other thing that you said that I think is so important, is from week to week, your team members are measuring their own performance. They're getting immediate feedback on their performance, and they'll have the opportunity to improve. And that's our human nature. We're not content, especially when you're dealing with A players. They're not content to just be.
Yes. And so I've taken that to another level where I'm creating visual charts. So, we have an Excel spreadsheet with all these numbers on it, but does that really tell me I'm winning or losing when you glance at it? Not really, unless you know the numbers by heart. But with a chart that has the end line, the performance standard, and then of course there's a goal line of touchdown. When they're a super performer and create the touchdowns, they get, bigger goal rewards for that. And so creating a chart with those lines on the chart, and then, their metric and their mean and all that's running, they can kind of see where they're actually at by a quick glance of looking at the chart.
I love it. This is going to be powerful. I think in a year, we need to have you come back and talk about what's different in your company as a result of implementing this, because I anticipate there's going to be a big difference.
I would do that. Be happy to.
Yeah. So how have your team members responded so far as you've rolled this out?
Well, with it just being the first week, they seem excited because they have these choices now. They're again, okay, well, let's see how this plays out. I'm sure it's going to play out well, though. Again, it's always anything new rolling out to any employee. They're kind of stand back a little bit and don't want to dive in. Though, of course, my service dispatch manager, my operations manager, they're all gung-ho. They're all excited. All my office staff are really gung-ho. They love it.
Make their life a lot easier.
Yes.
Are you sharing each individual goal and those metrics with other employees, or is it just individualized?
Well, we're having individualized meetings, though we also let them know. So we given them examples of the ratios, and we also let them know that if they want to team up with other people within their department, they're allowed to do that if they like. And if they feel like that's what they want to do, again, it's their game. So if they want to create the game with others, that's fine. If they don't want to, they don't have to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I reiterate that a lot, throughout the meetings. I'm like, again, this is your game. Though, again, we just got to verify it. Though, again, it's still your game, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it work. Though if it just, comes impossible and too much work to try to, the big thing, is measuring and making sure I'm able to get a report that can show this so that it's, they see the report and they're getting the report instead of me kind of having, the report behind the curtain. And that's the last thing I want.
So that you just said something that it was one statement, but it really just stands out to me as you have a very different mindset than many business owners have. And your statement was, this is your game. I'm going to do everything to support you, or I'm going to do everything to help you make it work. And the fact that they have their numbers and they will know how they're performing versus you having the numbers behind the curtain and they have no idea. It's very different relational experience for a team member to be in that kind of situation where the boss supports me, the boss wants me to win, versus feeling like there's a boss, I'm supposed to do something. I don't know if I'm pleasing him or her today or what. And that is a very different relationship. And when you said your team members know how much you care, I think that's just an example right there of it feels very different as an A player to work in that kind of business.
Well, that's great.
So I'm going to acknowledge you for that, Rob.
Thank you.
So as you have really worked to define your sweet spot in the business, you've come to see that you're not just an HVAC company. There's a way that you have viewed your work all along that wasn't getting out there to your customers. And you have really put a focus now on educating and explaining what's unique. So I want to give you the opportunity to talk about that.
Yeah, now we get into the fun stuff. 70% of heating and cooling issues is not the heating and cooling equipment. And this is what I was up against 20 plus years ago, because I was all involved in the design of systems. And when people talk about heating and cooling systems, all they think about is the box that's sitting outside and the box sitting inside of the house. The ductwork that's connected to it is part of that system, and that ductwork is not being replaced when people have HVAC issues, as well as that the house is the ultimate system. If the house is not performing, how can the HVAC system do its job? And the analogy I use is that so many people want high efficiency equipment because their bills are high. And so if I put in a NASCAR heating and cooling system, this high efficient unit, I'm putting it into a 1970s Pinto with flat tires and expecting it to run a NASCAR race.
That's a commercial right there.
Yeah, so the bigger issue is, and this is where I would like to get Mike's help to answer this question, is air changes in a home is the biggest problem. There is a certain amount of air changes a house should do. Mike, do you have an answer?
The exact amount? No.
Roughly.
I have no idea. I'm not an HVAC guy. I mean, I would say certainly several times a day, maybe 5-6 times a day. I don't know.
Okay. So roughly it's all the cubic feet of the house that's being conditioned. And this is based on the way the house is built. It's where all these air changes are coming from the outside. All that cubic feet of space in the house, whether it's a small house, big house, doesn't matter, should be exchanging with the outside 8 times in a 24-hour period. And that's for health reasons. First of all, we'd run out of oxygen if the house was super tight. They lived in a bubble. You're going to run out of oxygen at some point, and especially nowadays in COVID with everyone being home more than they were before.
Good point.
And so the other issue is we need oxygen to breathe in, but then we have CO2 we breathe out. And now we're filling up the house with CO2. And then, of course, there's pollutants in the house, and there's just so many things going on in a home. That's why it needs these air changes so that you're able to live and not get sick. Though we got involved in doing this testing to find out what was going on, because prior to that, I've been into many homes where I designed the whole system, the ductwork, HVAC, and everything. And when I get complaints to go out, the top floor feels like a sauna, the basement feels like a meat locker. What's going on here? And I go out and I take the test and I do everything I can to verify that the equipment and everything's performing right. And it is, though the customer's like, no, it's not. I'm sweating, you're sweating, something's going on. And I said, you're exactly right. And I don't know what I don't know. And something's going on and I need to figure this out. And then I got invited to go to this home performance seminar. I walk in, they start showing videos, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. There's the problem. I walk out of there after 5 minutes. I'm like, I don't need to be here any longer. Where do I sign up? Let's get started. Because most of the houses that we've tested in our area, do you think that they're doing 8 air changes? Do you think that they're doing less, or do you think they're doing more?
I think they're doing much less because the air changes are probably just from leakage and not the ERV or another system that can actually provide a proper change.
The house is actually doing 32 times.
Wow.
That's the average house in the Baltimore, D.C. area. So if our HVAC system is designed to condition a home with 8 air changes, because if you do a calculation and you just go in and you run the numbers and you don't change any of the air infiltration rate, because most HVAC contractors are not taught that, because I wasn't until I went to this seminar. I mean, I was doing calculations and thought I was, the man doing this, but no, I wasn't. I realized that quick. And so when now we can go test with what's called a blower door, it gets set, it's a fan that gets set up in the front door, and it can test and tell me within 15 minutes how many air changes your house is doing. And so we have to fix those leaks. Where do you think most of those leaks are coming from?
Windows, attic.
What do you think, Dr. Sabrina?
The ductwork.
Okay. All great answers. Mike, the first one you said is what I hear all the time. Windows, windows, windows. Again, we need 8 air changes. So would we rather those 8 air changes be from the windows, or for the second part you said the attic?
Windows.
Right, because it's directly to the outside. If we're pulling air from that attic, because that is the number one, is the attic. Because the attic hatch, when you go into the attic, that door, what's that built with?
Piece of sheetrock usually, or a piece of wood.
Right. Yes, exactly right. So attics in our area are roughly 130 to 140 degrees. The outside is 95 on a nice hot summer day. And we're in a very humid climate as well here. So if the front door is built really solid, insulated, weather stripped, all this, because I need to fight against 95 degrees going outside, why is my attic hatch built with a piece of drywall when I'm going 140 degrees?
That's true.
Put me two of the front doors on the attic hatch.
Exactly.
So it's the attic hatch, and of course, where's the return at? The return's in the hallway right near the attic hatch. So it just helps. It just pulls more 140 degree air into that return duct. An HVAC system in cooling, can only change the air 20 degrees. That's all it's built for. Because if your house is 75, if you got the temperature during cooling at 75, it's going to change it to 55 degrees, and 55 degrees is what's going to be coming out of your registers. Well, it should be. So that's 20 degrees. That's all you need. But if we got 140 degree air coming in, and then we got another return, and so we mix all that in and say we got 100 degree coming into the system by the time it gets there, and now we got 80 degrees coming out the registers. And of course, what's the homeowner think? This HVAC system ain't working.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
You have a very unique way of diagnosing the problem, and it points to a different solution than most HVAC companies would come in with, right?
Yes, that's correct, because that's number one. Once we can fix that and get the house, we won't get it down to 8 from 32. It's existing home. That would take a lot of work and it would cost a lot of money. But normally we can do it about half. So we're going to take it from 32 to 16. Well, any homeowner that's been living in that house for 32 air changes for 20 years, and all of a sudden you cut that in half to 16, they feel like they're in a new home. And the response is just like, it's unbelievable.
Let's put that in very practical terms. So when you're communicating to your clients and customers and you're saying, here's the difference you're going to feel, what is that difference?
So that's the biggest problem I have, is trying to communicate this to homeowners, because if they're having estimates, I'm coming in and they've had 6 other people there that tell them that this NASCAR engine is going to solve all their problems. The high efficiency unit is going to take care of everything. And so then when I come in and start letting them know of how we look at things and how we can help them and show them some testimonials and so forth, they're just like, why didn't anyone else talk about this? No one else has said this. And why do you need to go into the attic? Because they didn't go there. And why do you need to be here for 2 hours? Because they were here for 15 or 20 minutes. And so then they're like, they got that, I'm not sure.
So this is, and you're right in the middle of this because you're going through the wish list interviews with your top clients and customers and as part of the pumpkin planning process. What you're experiencing, I imagine a lot of our profit designers can relate to. You have a deeper knowledge of the issues that your top clients are dealing with than your competitors. And your competitors have educated your clients and customers of what to expect. And so then you come in and different is better, right? That's what, Mike McCallum is, he's writing a book, different is better. And he says it all the time. And it is very true. However, if you're so different, and your top clients and customers don't know how to make sense of that difference, they don't know what to do with that. And that's where you're like, how do I bridge the gap? So, Mike, let's talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, it's tough being the disruptor, right? And I think the competition, like Rob is explaining, is about selling boxes, right? So they have a salesman, he's going to the house, he's got a list of 10 people he's seeing that day. He wants to sell a $12,000 ticket, boom, next. They're not in the business of selling the real solution. So when a company like Rob's come in that's doing more of an energy performance audit and they're coming in and they're looking at the whole house as a system, it is a disruptor. So, I think the value add there is explaining the return on investment. So there is some sort of return on investment, whether it may be a little bit longer term, but I would also imagine in some cases, taking care of some of these issues would eliminate the need for buying a new system right now, right? And maybe the system is working less, like what Rob's talking about. Some people, and we've had this happen, some people I've been running the air conditioner for 7 days straight, and the house is still not cooling down. Well, what do you think that does to the system, right? So you're killing the system both, in the heating cycle and the cooling cycle. So, yeah, I mean, it's certainly disruptors do disrupt, and they do very, very well. It is somewhat of an uphill battle in some cases, but, I think if the value proposition is there and, just as you were explaining it to us, I mean, I've been on the home building side for a long time and also the commercial construction side, and I've put in boxes. I mean, I've never paid attention to, the whole energy audit side of it, so even for somebody like me, I just learned a little bit. So I thank you for that. And I think the way you explain it is also, there's that little bit of comedy in there, but it's very to the point, so I can see if I'm a homeowner and I'm sitting there listening to you talk about it that way, there's some aha moments there. And I'm like, well, you know what? This makes sense, and maybe I do need to look at it a different way.
So I'm having a couple of aha moments, not so much about my HVAC system, more in terms of how to help Rob. I'll think about my HVAC after we're done with the podcast. But what stands out to me is that there are people that you can connect with who can become your promoters, Rob. So you just educated Mike, and I'm imagining that there are others in the industry that your top clients and customers would be dealing with before they're dealing with you. So those people who refer to you may be the great places where you would want to start educating. So, and they may not be the ones who educate your customers, but they can provide you with that halo effect when they're making the referral. And that halo effect is your clients and customers respect these people. They're influencers of your top clients and customers. So if you can educate those influencers who will then say, you don't want to just call any HVAC company. You really want to go to Minnick's. They know they're doing things differently, and they look at your whole house as a system, and they will look and do an energy audit, and they will make recommendations to you that are going to save you a lot of money, not just in the immediate, but long term. So if you can get your influencers talking in that way to your top clients and customers, that's one way to handle this. Another way is for you to be educating homeowners, just providing an educational service out there, like when COVID is gone and we can be in public again through different community organizations, even going like to Kiwanis meetings and Rotary Club meetings, and just sharing. I've learned some really cool things lately about HVAC systems, and I want to share and educate insurance agents, realtors, those different people who are very out there in the community, who once you educate them, whenever they hear someone talking about heating and cooling issues, they're going to say, you know what, you really need to talk to Minnick's because they have a different solution that's going to save you money.
No, and what's ironic is we talked to a realtor a couple of weeks ago, and I went through this whole story with her, the same thing, and she was like, wow. She's like, so I'm going to put together for you to do a video with all our sales agents.
That could be one of those things too, where how over time people have bolted on that homeowner's warranty when you resell a home. Maybe there could be a bolt-on service where they go through this audit process, they repair some of these things, and then it becomes almost like a golden seal or something, so that when they are selling the home, right, it's now up to a different standard. And then, I'm just thinking, I can't tell you how many HVAC guys, we used over the years as, subcontractors as we were building homes. I mean, not one of these guys ever even talked about this, ever. And as you're talking about the attic door, I'm thinking to myself, you should patent yourself a Minnick's attic door and sell it, right, nationwide, like an attic door that actually works.
Right?
Because they're really pieces of crap. I mean, you either do have a piece of half-inch sheetrock, or you have the attic that has a quarter-inch of broken Luan plywood on it. I mean, there's really the mainstream options. I'm sure there's other ones, but
yes,
so it's that might even be a good lead generator for you, or one of those kind of those grabbing things is maybe you do get a different attic door, and you promote that, and you go into people's home and you say you want to increase your energy by 50%. Replace your attic door and we'll show you how. that kind of thing.
No, it's all great recommendations. There are products out there. There's a thing called an attic tent, and it gets put over top of the door, and you unzip it and zip it up like a suitcase, and it's insulated. So there are things for all this, and it's great. So it's the attic door is one thing, but again, recessed cans are the worst. They leak like crazy. And like when people, all the newer homes are getting all these recessed cans put in, and they're supposed to be sealed. But when we run that blower door, air's flying out of them. And then when I go up and remove all, just vision the attic floor without the insulation, the whole attic floor looks like Swiss cheese, because you got an electrician drilling wires, you got a plumber drilling holes, and electrician drilling holes, and there's open chaseways, and drywall, wood shrinks, and so there's gaps between the drywall. One big thing where people can notice is that in bedrooms, if they've ever had a bedroom where the carpet starts to get dark all around the edges, and they go and vacuum it up, and they come back 2 weeks later and the dirt's there again, they vacuum it up, and they're like, man, I got to get new carpet. Something's going on. No, it's all the air being pulled down from the attic, and then it comes underneath, because the bottom drywall usually has a small gap. And then that's when you have the wood trim, and it's just coming underneath that wood trim, and the carpet becomes the filter, so that it's filtering all this dirty air. Just like when people keep doors closed all the time in their bedroom, which is kind of gets a little creepy when I walk into homeowners and I say, oh, you keep this door closed a lot, right? And they're like, how do you know that? You been in my home before? It's because, the undercut of the door, and you look at the carpet and you see all the dirt that's all up in the carpet right there. It's just this big strip of dirt. And it's because all that air is being pulled underneath the door.
So I'm getting another aha moment here as we're talking, not so much about my carpet, but that you could come up with a simple self-assessment that you could put on your website, where a homeowner could go through and you could ask them about, do you have these symptoms? Do you have this line of dirt in your carpet? And as they take it, they're getting feedback about what that line of dirt really means. And the common things that you see when you go into a home, that would be, once you educate a homeowner in a question, they would all of a sudden go, yeah, I have that going on, or yeah, I see that. And it points to an inefficient system. And then you have an opportunity to educate. And that positions you as an authority, which is going to be totally different. And so the reason different is better is because when you are different, you are providing something that your competitors don't provide. So your clients and customers cannot compare apples to oranges, right? You're no longer a green apple versus a red apple. Now you're an orange, but you have to educate them about how you're an orange. And that's the challenge that we're talking through here, is why do they want an orange versus an apple? Is
there any type of case study or financial data on the return on investment for taking care of these things?
Yes, that's one of the things we're getting ready to put on our website, is a little calculator to show when you're just buying a box versus, getting some work done with the box. Because the second part is you got the house as the issue, though the other part is most ductwork is not designed properly. Returns are undersized, and so the unit's starving air. And so once we fix the returns and we fix the house, the unit is off of that 365 24/7 treadmill. Just run. So those are the two things. And when we walk in, it's like, there's nothing wrong with the system. Why do you want to replace it? And, we can make this thing, last for quite a few more years, because we joke here that when we do go in and fix this, that the unit's patting us on our back when we're leaving, like, thank you, I get the rest now.
Yeah. So Rob, as you do your wish list interviews, I want you to ask your top clients how they heard about you, so that we start to identify your top referral sources, because that's going to be a key place for you to educate.
Yeah, matter of fact, what's ironic, I'm starting that next week.
Beautiful timing.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It is very ironic.
Do you do new construction installs as well, or just?
Yeah, that's where we started in the business. We grew, we had over 200 and some employees, and was doing a lot of new construction. And then the late 80s hit, big ones. We were doing a lot of tract homes, a lot of developments, and of course had it looked great on paper. But then when they, all went Chapter 11, I asked my dad, I'm like, how did we survive through that? And he's like, I don't recall, but I just did whatever I need to do. I mean, we went from that 200 and some employees down to 6. And 4 of those 6 had a last name Minnick. So yeah, it was very hard, but we started picking back up. We stayed with a few builders that were kind of just building, custom homes. And then when 2008 hit, we're like, all right, no more new construction. So we do nothing but existing homes.
So Mike, what was behind that question?
I was just going to ask if there was some type of education or bolt-on service that you could offer to the custom builder or remodeler, that also encompasses some of these energy topics. Because again, like I said, I mean, we've installed probably thousands of boxes. Not one has ever, come to me and say, hey, let's also talk to the client about this as a potential upsell or, a value add to their home as we're building it or renovating it. And these are homes that, our average remodel was $500,000 and up, all day long, spending an extra 20 grand or 25 grand, whatever it was, they would have said, okay, just do it, So it is pretty interesting.
Yeah, if I found a very good builder to work with that is, willing to do that type of work and so forth, that's been my biggest challenge, is finding the right builder that wants to do it right and, is not, cautious or scared to go talk to the homeowner about, here, this is going to be some extra money because here's what we really need to do.
So what Mike shared got my wheels turning in thinking about the trends that are coming because of COVID. And residential remodeling is one of those areas that's going to boom because people are spending so much time in their home and they're seeing all the things that don't work. And really, Rob, for you, people are really experiencing being in their home all the time, what's not working about their HVAC system. And so that's front and center. And so if there were a residential remodeler and the right residential remodeler would be doing the projects the size that Mike's talking about with clients and customers who are not afraid to spend another 20 or 30,000 and who are going to be very interested in the efficiency of their HVAC system. That could be an area to really look at the opportunity to grow. And so as you're working with your wish list interviews and you're looking at your top clients and customers, one question to kind of hold in mind is how many of them have done a remodel or are planning a remodel in the future? And if they've done one or are planning one, who are they working with? Because like A, players hang together. So if you keep hearing a name over and over among your top clients and customers, that may point you to a remodeler that would be open to what you have to offer.
Yeah, and of course, from a business model perspective, one way to minimize or mitigate your risk entirely is just, if you're building a new relationship with a remodeler or a custom builder, you just say, look, we require a deposit, first day we start the job or in advance. When we hit this milestone, we get paid. We hit this milestone, we get paid. We're not waiting 30 days. We get paid every single week. We're good. We're fast. We have the resources, take it or leave it. We've done that with, many subs. I mean, we pay them before we're paid in some cases because they're really our partner. Without really good subs, we can't do what we need to do. And or we structure our model differently with our clients. And we say, we're not waiting 30 days to get paid. We're going to bill you every week or every 2 weeks. We're not a bank, we're a builder, right?
Exactly, because most of them think you are.
So this has been a really fun conversation because we've got to dig into some of the coaching with you, and you're in this right now trying to figure this out. And I'm really serious about the offer to come back on the podcast 6 months from now or a year from now and share with us, well, what did you learn in your wish list interviews? And then what did you do with that? And how are you continuing to really make the most out of being different and using that to drive the business? And the other thing that I want to hear about is, as you've gotten your employees working on their results to resources ratios and owning their results, the impact that has 6 months from now or a year from now on your team. That'll be really fun to dig into as well.
No, I agree and be happy to do that. Would love to. Yes, it's been a lot of fun. We could sit here and keep talking all day, right?
This is why I do what I do. Come up with creative solutions. Mike, what are some of your takeaways from today?
Well, takeaway, one thing being a little bit of a comedic point, when you were talking about the Swiss cheese in the attic, you didn't say anything about the tin knockers making holes. You just dimed into the electricians and plumbers.
Yes, that was not on purpose. But yes, we like to use chainsaws too when we do that too, right?
But outside of that, it's really impressive. I really like the work that you're doing with the field staff. And, in many cases, that's also a disruptor because a lot of companies are not doing that. They don't view it that way. They just look at it as an employee and, go do your work, Johnny. But to have them in an environment where they're kind of in control of their destiny, right? They're looking at their own book of business and kind of running a business within a business. That's really great. And, I'm interested to see how that works for you. And I think, it's really smart. It's a really good way to do it.
Oh, thank you.
So Rob, thank you for being with us today and good luck as you go forward. I get to continue to work with you in the Better Business, Better Life program. So I'll get a sneak peek on how this is all unfolding, but I really am looking forward to having you back to bring us up to date and tell us what you've learned through this process.
I definitely will. Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.
Really good. Thank you.
Have a good day. Take care.
Thank you for spending time with us today. Join our conversation in the Entrepreneurs Take Your Life Back Facebook community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode, ask me questions, and join in on the fun with your fellow entrepreneurs on the journey to designing sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. And finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.